After a long-awaited opening, a quasi-opening with half of the attractions not operating, and a COVID shutdown, Nickelodeon Universe at American Dream Mall is finally open with all of its coasters and flats ready for riding. As of the making of this video, you can buy your tickets and visit the park, expecting the close to full NICU experience, albeit with a reduced guest capacity down to 25%, and the retail/food options not fully fleshed out. As the rest of American Dream Mall slowly begins to take shape, many people are left facing a difficult question. Is Nickelodeon Universe finally worth the trip? In this video, I'll be giving the park a full review, including my overall impressions, and whether or not a visit to this park deserves a spot on your holiday wish list. The first thing to talk about is park atmosphere, because I assume for many people, myself included, the nostalgic promise of a slime-filled, SpongeBob-themed day is a big motivator in wanting to check Nickelodeon Universe out. The park itself is located in one corner of the American Dream Mall, surrounded by a few stores that are currently operating. The mall itself is absolutely gigantic, and as of my visit in October, I'd estimate about 10% of the actual retail space is currently being used. In fact, it's probably even less. I'm pretty sure if you wandered into an empty part of this mall and got lost, you'd stand a pretty good chance of dying of dehydration before anyone found you. While we were there, they had DJs playing throughout the space to try to liven the crowd up, but no amount of remixes is going to make me forget that 90% of the place felt and looked like a Call of Duty map. There's also a serious shortage of food options, both at the mall itself and in the park proper. I assume this will change over time, but if you're an early visitor or somewhat early visitor, you may be subject to prepackaged sandwiches and soft pretzels. But that's more American Dream as a whole. What about Nickelodeon Universe itself? Thankfully, I can confidently say that NICU feels like a fully realized theme park. No, it's not an immersive experience like a Galaxy's Edge or a Diagon Alley, but in my opinion, it does deliver on the promise of Nickelodeon-flavored amusement salad. There's a really good mix of new school Nick properties like Paw Patrol and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, mixed with the increasingly popular 90s staples, Rugrats, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, and Blue's Clues. The whole theme sort of clicked for me when I saw the two-tiered Reptar carousel, which is genius, not to mention the amazingly detailed jellyfish chair swing, which is probably the coolest iteration of this ride I've ever seen. Granted, I am quite literally the target demographic for all of these things, a 20-something-year-old millennial who grew up on a steady diet of cartoons and cereal. However, even for those not permanently sporting a retro pair of rose-colored sunglasses, there is a real charm to seeing these beloved TV characters brought to life and implemented in a fun and engaging way. There's good pops of color throughout and plenty of scenic overlooks to take the whole park in, especially when you first descend the escalator into the park. I will say there are sections that look a bit drab, mostly due to the whitewashed industrial interior of the mall dominating the space. They do have character statues placed around the park as photo ops, and when I visited, they were still doing socially distanced character meets as well. Overall, I'd say the Nickelodeon-tinged aura of the park does its job at setting that oh-so-orange and oh-so-cartoonish vibe. And while the developers didn't go all the way as far as the potential of the concept, they do enough to leave a lasting memory. Now for the most important part, the meat and potatoes of any theme park, the rides. Nick Universe is home to 5 pretty unique coaster creds, which I imagine is part of the reason why this park has started to pop onto the radar of coaster enthusiasts across the country. You have Nickelodeon Slime Streak, a Chance Morgan family coaster, Shredder, a record-setting Gerstlauer spinning coaster, Timmy's Half-Pipe Havoc, an Intamin half-pipe, TMNT Shellraiser, a record-setting Gerstlauer Eurofighter, and lastly, Sandy's Blasting Bronco, a first-of-its-kind Intamin Blitz hybrid launch thing. If you were to pick a dominant theme out of that lineup, it's clear to see what developers 555 were going for. Coasters, that make headlines. With the world's longest spinning coaster, the world's steepest drop in a coaster, and a world's first model, NICU was and is poised to make a splash onto the coaster scene. I got a chance to ride every single one of those coasters multiple times, and I have to say that not only is the lineup flashy, it's also quality. Granted, none of these rides busted into my top 10, but I didn't get off any of these coasters thinking they were quote-unquote bad rides. And in the case of both TMNT Shellraiser and Sandy's Blasting Bronco, they did manage to make my top 25, which I think says something about the quality of Nick Universe's lineup. The worst of all the coasters is definitely Nickelodeon Slime Streak, the Chance Morgan family coaster, but even then it's not an abomination, it's just a little slow, a little short and boring. However, I will say that it does look very pretty as it dances around the perimeter of the park and makes for some scenic views as you ride it. TMNT Shellraiser is my new favorite Eurofighter after riding it, although that's not really saying much for me in terms of how much I like Eurofighters, and Timmy's Halfpipe Havoc is probably my favorite halfpipe. But with all of that being said, there's nothing here that truly blew me away. And part of this is just the constraint of having a park located inside of a mall. But in my mind, none of these coasters are capable of giving you that breathtaking ride you'll remember for the rest of your days. I guess the best way to phrase it is that they are all fun in the moment, but nothing will exactly beg you to return the same way other coasters can. In addition to their coasters, they also have some notable flat rides. I already mentioned the Reptar Carousel and the Jellyfish Chair Swing, but you've also got an awesome SNS Super Shot that gives you an amazing view of the Manhattan skyline. Then you've got an Avatar-themed Zamperla Air Race, a TMNT-themed Zamperla Discovery, a Jimmy Neutron-themed Vomit Machine, a SpongeBob Bus Rock and Tug, and a whole lot more for younger kids. Overall, it is a solid and well fleshed out roster of attractions with enough to please adults and kids alike. If anything, I'd argue the rides tend to border on the more intense side, which lends some credence to the idea that this park is meant to attract millennials, maybe more so than younger kids. It's worth noting that this park sits right next to a DreamWorks indoor water park, which means if you're feeling particularly adventurous and also incredibly wealthy, you can have a full day indoor experience with both water and theme park. Just keep in mind that there's no re-entry to either of these parks, which is a bit of a bummer. So with all of that in mind, we circle back to the main question of this whole thing. Is Nickelodeon Universe finally worth the price of admission? When this park first opened, Sandy's Blasting Bronco, not operating. Timmy's Halfpipe Havoc, not operating. TMNT Shellraiser, barely open. Now it appears that everything is operating relatively reliably and frequently. But does that justify the price of admission? Adults are faced with a $69 entry fee, and kids ages 3 to 9 get a $10 discount, bringing their total to $59. A family of 4 will pay $256 at best for entry, which is by no means cheap, especially when compared to the entry fees for somewhere like Six Flags Great Adventure, located about an hour south. However, I think I can say that yes, I do think the park is worth it, but as a premium product. And that's my caveat. This park is an indoor theme park experience priced at a premium. It's indoors, it's heated, it can run year-round, and it can deliver a really memorable day of coaster riding and picture taking, but at a considerable price. If a park like this fits into your budget, or if you're a coaster enthusiast looking for 5 good new coaster credits, this is definitely the park for you. If you're a huge Nickelodeon fan hell-bent on taking a dip in the warm bath of nostalgia, this park is also for you. If you're a casual theme park goer who wants a fully fleshed out experience and you enjoy sitting down with a plate of food and soaking in all of that atmosphere, I'd sit this one out. Or at least wait until the park gets some of those finer details of its operation sorted out. And that's my review. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and that you got something out of it to help you plan your next trip to Nickelodeon Universe. And if you do end up going, I hope you have a great time. I have to say that despite all the flaws, I really did enjoy my day here, and I'm sure you will too. Make sure to go ahead and leave a comment on this video with your thoughts on the park if you've been there. I also have a full review of Sandy's Blasting Bronco here on the channel that you should definitely check out. And while you're at it, if you could go ahead and hit the like button and/or subscribe, it would really help us out here at the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.